Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull, and this is America's Commercial Real Estate Show. This segment is brought to you by Real Crowd. You know that you can invest with a very experienced sponsor right now online. Visit realcrowd.com. Well, today we have Scott Muldavin in the studio. He is 2017 chair of CRE, Counselors of Real Estate. And we're going over their report, the 2017-18 top 10 issues affecting real estate. We're to number 3, generational disruptions. We all have to live together now, right? And work together.
Yeah, there's some interesting thing. We just crossed over just recently a point where the baby boomers and the millennials are equal in size, both about 75 million. And so, and also we're at a time when, in addition to that thing, we're all having to live and work together, and it's having a lot of implications on, let's say, in your office spaces, your open floors versus your closed office, the amount of quiet rooms, and just how people like to work, and now they're all having to work together. And that's an important issue. Also in residential, it's important because in residential, the boomers are actually wanting to move from the big suburbs. They're sort of similar to the millennials, and they want more experiential restaurants and entertainment and design. So they're moving in from the big suburbs and the big houses, looking for a type of apartment. They need bigger apartments, room storage facilities for their space, whereas the millennials want convenience and affordability. And getting these folks together is really, really important. And being able as a real estate person to understand the boomers is important because they're the fastest growing households. The 65 plus and the 75 plus are the 1 and 3 segments that are growing the fastest households. So it's an important issue.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. You mentioned the design of even the rental properties. Yeah, I know if I'd like to have an apartment in Atlanta and then live at Lake Lanier, right? Not have to have a house in Atlanta to maintain. But if I told my wife that, she'd say, "Well, how big is my closet? Is it as big as a normal apartment bedroom?" So, and then these young people, they're going to like me playing the Beatles. We are going to clash here. And then you talk about office space. I mean, that's probably one of the larger things that our listeners and viewers are dealing with is, that we have millennials and we have baby boomers, and maybe we want different things in our office. You mentioned when you came in our office, you've got these open spaces and these pods and this cafe, but then we still also have some of the baby boomer thing. We still have some offices on glass, and we got to figure that out, right?
Yeah, one of the things that is actually kind of merging with both boomers and millennials are interested in, it's called live, work, play. And residences and offices are kind of converging. You see it with the Googles and the Ubers and these kind of folks where offices, they have, I was at the Google headquarters in San Francisco not too long ago where they have places like called the living room. Yeah. And they have kitchens, they have outdoor barbecues, and outdoor terraces are like the most important amenity in San Francisco for office buildings now. In residential, they're now making lobbies that are more where people can gather and people can work. They have commercial kitchens on the bottom floor, fire pits. So this convergence of live, work, play is a really important theme. It's also, and one of the big issues, obviously, it's costly. We have this affordability crisis, another generational issue, right? The younger folks, other than the privileged technology folks that are making more money, there's a lot of affordability issues. And so anyways, a lot of interesting stuff in the generational.
Yeah, absolutely. And number 4, drum roll, number 4, retail disruption. A lot of things going on with retail today.
Yeah, so retail is not dying. Retail is under transformation. And this is, again, well, what's the issue here? The most important issue is that we have too much retail. Since 1970 until just this last year, we've had retail malls growing at twice the pace of the population. And the result is that in the U.S., we have 40% more retail space per capita than Canada. We have 5 times more than Germany, than England, and 10 times more than Germany. And that's resulted in, we're predicting maybe 30% of malls will be closing in the next number of years, which again presents tremendous repositioning and redevelopment opportunities. But just a lot of things with the retailers, and you have Amazon, so you have all these things. So here in the U.S., we need to be rethinking the way we think about retail.
Yeah, I think everybody realizes that we've been over-retailed here in the U.S., but interesting, retail real estate typically is good, it's well-positioned, and we're still seeing a lot of people that are really interested in buying retail, even though maybe they are a little concerned there's going to be some changes going on.
Yeah, it depends on the type of retail, but and what locations you're in. If you're in secondary markets or middle markets, a lot of that retail is going to be tough to reposition it. But for the places that you can reposition, you can get really great buying opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at number 5, infrastructure investment. We really going to get it? Is it really going to happen?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Obviously, infrastructure is interesting. The reason it's a top 10 issue is whether we get a lot of it, which would be great because we really need it to make an investment in our future. And for real estate, it's really critical to have transit and and bridges and airports and those kinds of things. And if we don't have it, that's also important because there's going to be winners and losers. And it's also a very difficult area because if you look at the current Trump and or Republican Congress proposals, they're just not very well developed. But the ones that are developed, they're talking about $200 billion and then $800 billion coming from the private sector or from toll roads and things. And but they're also zeroing out mass transit in the budget, which is a huge, difficult issue, and getting rid of a lot of the other infrastructure. It's hard to know how much infrastructure is going to happen, but it's really important for real estate people to understand because this is local. You can understand your community because transit, again, being super critical. Airports, but things that are going to be winners are going to be airports, busy roads, wind farms, anything where you have actual revenue. The losers are going to be rural communities, going to be disadvantaged areas, things that actually can't generate revenues to pay. Parks, environmental protection. Those things are very difficult to get private sector payment for because there's not a lot of revenue. So it's fraught with danger and also incredible opportunities for real estate people that are tracking that infrastructure investment.
Yeah, and also construction on infrastructure also creates a lot of jobs, right? So it could be great for our economy to invest more in infrastructure and maybe lengthen this great cycle.
Yeah, no, that's an important issue, and it's actually a challenging issue when you actually analyze infrastructure. From an investment side, you can see, well, if I don't build roads and bridges and airports, then how can I ever have a prosperous economy? But when we're at relatively near full employment, and we actually have a huge construction worker shortfall already in the country. So in that situation, if we actually did do $1 trillion of government stimulus in infrastructure, the question about how many jobs it will create, what happens when our economy is in recession again and we need to do something? The same goes for tax reform. If we do tax cuts and infrastructure spending when we have 4% unemployment, that's some of what the political polarization is about, is trying to get underneath the hood of all those issues. We counsel on the counselors to look at it analytically, and we think you can get to some good answers.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. You think about the amount of jobs it would create. Yeah, and where are these people? Well, we're talking about the 2017 and 18 top 10 issues affecting real estate from CRE counselors. Stay with us. We'll take a short break. We'll get back and hear about the rest. Stay with us.